Tolerance equals complicity. Xiefeng. January 21, 2021. There is a kind of tolerance that is tantamount to complicity. I am here to talk specifically about this kind of tolerance. I left 3 WeChat groups yesterday. The reason for my leaving was the uncivilized language in those 3 groups. In 2 of these groups, a person named Lifechanyuan is always saying, "Fuck your mother," and using other vulgar and crude words. Barbarians like him and many people not only praise him for his knowledge and wisdom, but also tolerate him as well. Feeling helpless and unable to bear the foul atmosphere in the group, I left. The reason why Lifechanyuan used swear words unscrupulously was because he found that people would tolerate his barbaric behavior. So, he feigned madness and acted like an idiot, acted irrationally, and cursed heaven and anyone he could. The language he used is so nasty, vulgar, filthy, and dirty, that no one in the past and no one in the future will be able to surpass him. Other people tolerate this despicable and shameless person and are even singing praises for him. This is the pure acceptance of evil. As a spiritual practitioner, I cannot connive with evil to such a degree, or even associate with him, speak with him on the same stage, which shows how far the world of spiritual cultivation has fallen. When evil occupies the platform of discourse, and morals degenerate to their extremities, no one should blame others, we should blame ourselves for being too tolerant of falsehoods, evil and ugliness. This tolerance is complicity, and it is when we are compliant of ugly deeds and ugly words by each of us that it leads to the indecencies that are swaggering through the streets and running rampant. Tolerance refers to the non-interference of personality differences under the same attribute. For example, various flowers have the same attribute. Under the same attribute, peonies need to tolerate thorny roses, chrysanthemums need to tolerate winter plums that bloom in cold weather, and bougainvillea that blooms all year round need to tolerate epiphyllum, whose flowering period is only a few hours. Another example is that truth, kindness, beauty, love, faith, sincerity, peace, and harmony should mutually tolerate each other, because they are all the same attributes. When things are completely different in nature, they cannot tolerate each other. Here tolerance equals complicity. Truth, goodness and beauty cannot tolerate falsehoods, evil and ugliness, the sun cannot tolerate darkness, fire cannot tolerate water, and a beautiful environment cannot tolerate garbage. Imagine that there are 8 dishes on the dinner table, and someone brings a plate of feces. May I ask, will you tolerate it? The Chinese nation regards bearing shame and humiliation as a positive virtue. This kind of value is problematic. The cultivated world praises tolerance highly, to show that they have broad minds and noble feelings. How hypocritical this is. Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism all emphasize tolerance, so Chinese people are particularly tolerant, but it is precisely because everyone can tolerate, that the Chinese characteristic of tolerance has been formed. This tolerance for humiliation makes people feel angry, but they do not speak and dare not stop and resist in their behavior, and all take the gentleman style of, if you are patient in one moment of anger, you will escape 100 days of sorrow. In the long run, people will live awkwardly, but they have nowhere to vent. In the end, they can only swallow their anger and comfort themselves with having a tolerant mentality. In China, the phenomenon of queue jumping occurs often, because the Chinese are good at tolerance. I lived in Zimbabwe for more than 10 years. The commercial, industrial, and living areas of this country are completely separated. Office workers who work in the city during the day need to take the shuttle bus to go home after work. Every day, there are many people waiting in line for the bus, but queue jumping rarely occurs there. Why? Because people are not tolerant of line jumpers, so it is impossible to cut into a line. Once, I was queuing up at a place to pay electricity and water bills. Suddenly a black guy walked to the window without queuing up. Several old white ladies in the back immediately protested. They not only yelled, but an old lady also even stepped forward and dragged the black guy to the back of the line. They just would not tolerate the behavior of queue jumping. Just because everyone was not tolerant, so an overall good sense of order was achieved. A Canadian mayor slapped his subordinate, and this subordinate called the police. The police rushed to the spot and took the mayor to the police station in handcuffs. That night, the mayor was detained in a cell with no windows, no bed, no bedding, and no urinal. When he wanted to go to the toilet, he would knock on the door and make a report. At 9 o'clock the next morning, the police handcuffed him again, added anklets, stuffed him into an armored prison car, and he went straight to the local court. The judge sentenced him to go to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation to see if he had any mental problems that had caused the violence, and sentenced him not associate with this subordinate whom he had beaten at any time. If he encounters this subordinate by chance, he must immediately and unconditionally maintain a distance of more than 200 meters from him. Any violation, it will be treated as the crime of contempt of court. After returning home, the mayor had to resign. 3 months later, the court's final decision was, 1. He is not allowed to carry knives or guns or ammunition with him for the rest of his life. 2. For the period of 1 year, he needs to report his situation to the Community Crime Prevention Agency every month, and he must ask the Community Crime Prevention Agency for leave and report back after a leave of absence when he leaves his residence to do business and then returns to his residence. It can be said that Chinese people will tolerate the mayor slapping a subordinate in the face, and even if a ruffian beats somebody up, Chinese people generally will tolerate it. It's mainly because of this tolerance that the offender can act boldly and arbitrarily. This is all caused by tolerance. This kind of irrational and no bottom-line connivance-style tolerance can be seen everywhere. In the family, when the children are unhappy, they lie on the ground and cry. Grandparents and parents not only fail to instruct them in time, but also coax them. Some students in the school will bully other students, and teachers and principals are also tolerant of this. More cases are between husbands and wives, who often have trouble with each other, but then they tolerate each other. Most of the WeChat groups on the internet are tolerant of those who speak rudely and humiliate others. Over time, the whole society becomes tolerant, so crimes are rampant. In the new oasis for life created by Lifechanyuan, why do people behave in a noble way and why is everything in order? The reason is that we never tolerate bad words and deeds. Not only do we not tolerate fighting and swearing, but we also never tolerate the behaviors of boozing, whoring, gambling and smoking, and we even never tolerate the behavior of the wasting of food and property. No one can leave any food in the rice bowl after eating. Not just leaving food behind, but even leaving a few grains of rice in the bowl is not allowed. Anyone who dares to throw trash down casually can try it, anyone who dares to sexually harass women, can try it, anyone who dares to hide public goods privately can try it, anyone who dares to peep into the privacy of others can try it, anyone who dares to take indolence and covet enjoyment can try it. If one recommits this act after being warned, he will be expelled from the home. Someone taught me and said, "You need to be more tolerant and accept everything." I answered immediately, "I am not a trash can or a trash pit. How can I tolerate and accept everything?" Some people call those creatures that talk filthily and often say, "Fuck your mother," as superior and master. Their values are reversed to such a degree. No wonder that these superiors and masters have sprung up like mushrooms in the land of China.